Si quieres transcripciones para seguir el programa más de cerca y mejorar más rápido, puedes ir a englishwithdane.com/transcripts. That's englishwithdane.com/transcripts. El link está en la descripción del episodio. Hey, what's up? What's going on? Welcome to English with Dane, a podcast designed to improve your English. As always, I'm your host, Dane, and you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at English with Dane. Today's episode is about phrasal verbs with in. As you know, I now like to group, me gusta agrupar, I now like to group phrasal verbs according to the particle and not the main verb. Para recapitular, the particle is the part of the phrasal verb that isn't the verb. It's the adverb or preposition that follows, que sigue, the main verb to create the phrasal verb. For example, to break up. Break is the main verb and up is the particle. I think it's easier to learn and remember phrasal verbs if we group them by their particles, so that's what this episode is about. Phrasal verbs with in. So let's dive in. You are listening to episode 140 of English with Dane. Hit it. Okay, we have officially started the show, so let's talk about phrasal verbs with the preposition in. The first one I want to talk about is chip in, spelled C-H-I-P, como patata frita o ficha, también si hablamos de póker. To chip in means to contribute something, to put in money to buy something, for example. It's normal to hear something like, hey, blah, blah, blah is leaving the company next week, so we are all going to chip in for a present. You chip in for something. If you go on a road trip with your friends, you all chip in for gas, or petrol as they say in the UK. All right, next one. This next phrasal verb on the list is to chime in. The main verb chime is spelled C-H-I-M-E. Before I tell you what it means, let's try and figure it out from context. I'll tell you what chime means first. Chime is the sound a bell makes, una campana, the sound a bell makes when you strike it or hit it. Strike and hit mean the same thing. So when you hit the bell, it chimes. The phrasal verb is to chime in. I'm going to give you a sentence now. Let's see if you can figure it out. A ver si lo puedes descifrar. He's so annoying. He's always chiming in with his stupid opinions. If you want to chime in, please wait until the Q&A portion. So, to chime in, you probably have a good idea of what it means. It means to add your comment or opinion into a conversation or discussion. So people are talking about a movie you just watched, and you add something to the conversation, you are chiming in. Listen to this example.
Yeah, and that's where I gotta chime in because really, I wouldn't want to go in there with that limited amount of information.
The next phrasal verb we're going to take a look at is to burst in. Burst is spelled B-U-R-S-T. Burst means to break open or break apart suddenly. It's like reventar, really. So to burst in means to enter a room suddenly, de repente, and usually interrupt something that is going on. Here's an example from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Listen to Hermione tell Harry that he can't just burst in.
You're in Hagrid's hut now. If you just go bursting in, you'll think you've gone mad.
You can also barge in for the same effect, by the way. Barge is spelled B-A-R-G-E. It pretty much means the same thing. A quick note, though, we use the preposition on after barge in. So you barge in on someone. All right, next up is sink in. This is a really interesting one. Sink as in hundir, S-I-N-K. So to become completely known, felt, or understood. Again, to sink in, to become completely known, felt, or understood. You'll hear this phrasal verb a lot in the expression, let that sink in, which means think about that for a while. Digest that feeling or emotion or news or fact or whatever and really understand it. Listen to this clip from Before Sunrise.
And I stuck around for a while just to kind of let it really sink in that she wished I hadn't come.
He says, and I stuck around, y me quedé por ahí, for a while just to let it sink in that she wished I hadn't come. So he stayed to let it sink in or to fully understand or digest that she wished he hadn't gone. He says it pretty fast, so listen again.
And I stuck around for a while just to kind of let it really sink in that she wished I hadn't come.
Let's take a look at one last one. To break in. We're going to talk about a few different meanings for this one. The first one is the most common one. To enter a building by force. They broke in, disabled the alarm, and took everything. It doesn't have to be a building, though. It can be a car, a server, and in the case of Inception, also a mind.
And found that secret place. I broke in, and I planted an idea. A simple little idea that would change everything.
I love that movie. Watch it again when you have the chance. Another use of break in is when you're talking about shoes or new equipment. But now we're talking about to break something in. This use of break in means to wear something or use it to make it more comfortable. If you get new hiking shoes, you have to break them in a little bit before you go on your first hike. You break in your mattress, your new pair of jeans, etc. Apparently, you can also use to break in as if to say to interrupt. I read about it today. I've never used it, but it makes total sense. So we have to break in as in to enter forcibly into a building, to break in as in to wear or use something to make it more comfortable, and to break in as in to interrupt. So a quick recap before we go. To chip in, to contribute something like money for a common purpose. To chime in, to add your opinion or advice to a conversation or discussion. To burst in, to enter a room or situation suddenly and interrupt what's going on. To sink in, to become completely known, felt, or understood. To break in, to enter a building forcibly, to wear or use something so it becomes more comfortable, and to interrupt. All right, that's it for this episode of English with Dane. Thank you for listening. I hope it was useful. I hope you enjoyed it. And most importantly, I hope you learned something. Don't forget to follow English with Dane on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen, and give it a 5-star rating. Also, share this podcast with a friend, coworker, or family member, or anyone who you think would enjoy it. Remember, at English with Dane on Instagram and TikTok for quizzes and random videos, and EnglishWithDane.com for full transcripts. All right, talk soon. Later.